Hello and welcome to film 6 of the Bones and Belongings final mission. This week has been an initiation. I'm just going to put it like that. So much has happened. There's loads to cram into this recording. And I'm just so happy that I've been making this weekly film because it's made me look back through all of the week. And isolated incidents that have been happening. I can see the bigger picture when you look over things after a week. I used to do this all the time, going back over our story, Chris and I, over our story, because you could see the connections. You could like really join the dots of things that were happening after a long time looking back. Now I'm doing it like every week, and stuff is changing so quickly, and it's quite last week was all about overwhelm, if you've watched that film, and how Chris helped me and my guides helped me with the dealing with that overwhelm. And there was lots of cleansing and endings. And this is all about the new beginnings now, this initiation, and it's not comfortable. It's affecting all my family. And that's really where the discomfort is coming from. Really other things happening around me, so rather than my own healing, it's other people's I don't know, maybe by the end of the film I'll have worked it out, but anyway, so at the beginning of the week I did a meditation. So let's start right at the beginning so I can take you through it, and I'll take you through it as it happened, because it builds. Like everything, spirit has a plan, and everything happens at the right time in the right place when you're ready for it. So yeah, first of all, I did a releasing meditation. I'm part of a membership, and every month there's a meditation or something that comes through, and this time it was called Release the Petals, and it was basically a meditation standing on top of a mountain with a basket full of petals that needed releasing. And you release these petals into the wind on top of this mountain. You get free view, and we're coming up to Spring Equinox now. I don't want to date, well no, we have to date these films. We do. So it's the 17th of March 2023 today, and it's coming up to Spring Equinox, which is very much a balancing time of balance. The veil is very thin between the two worlds, and in the lead up to balance there's a lot of unbalance. So I've definitely been feeling that the last couple of weeks. So yes, this releasing at the top of the mountain, when I released these petals, it was all about I heard the return in my head. So once I'd released everything, I heard the return, which is obviously, to me, that's in the context of these films, that's the return of Christians' bones and belongings from Africa. So like it feels like the return, it's begun in properly. And I also got a real strong feeling in my root chakra, so like right down in the sort of pubic bones area, and it was, that is like security. It's like the real elements, the real basic need in our lives for security. Okay, so when we were like I don't need to tell you, we need to feel safe, we need to feel like we belong, and physiologically that we're functioning, and to me that root chakra, when I heard the return, it was like, oh my god, it's really happening, things are really going to change, things are really going to, like, what is my safety in this lovely village we live in, my lovely family, everything's pretty settled, it is pretty settled, and I know that has all got to change for this all to unfold. I know my life has to change, and I know my family's life has to change, which for me has always been something that I've been blocking. I feel like my root chakra now, like I know it is safe to change. I know it's all part of this transformation. I know I'm in the initiation stage. Like initiation is like a rite of passage. It is uncomfortable. It's the time before the growth. It's the time before the like the real expansion. It's the time when you really strengthen yourself. Like everything that happens through an initiation, it could happen very quickly. Like if you have, like, for example, if you have a sudden death, that's a rite of passage, isn't it? That's a sudden thing that you have to step through. And that's something that you're kind of forced through. That's not your choice in the matter. You don't have a choice in that case. When Christians with that, because he kind of didn't disappear just like that. It was like over months we were like getting concerned, and then we were like, oh, actually, hang on. Chris said he wasn't going to be we wouldn't have contact with him. Oh, that reminds me, 20th anniversary. We wouldn't have contact with him, so don't worry if we didn't hear from him. So we thought, oh, maybe he's got delayed, maybe he's gone and done something else that he hadn't planned to do, because he had a plane ticket. I'm jumping around a bit, so I hope you're following. He had a plane ticket booked to come home from Africa after his trip. So it was February, March, April, May, June, July, 5 months after he'd gone out. And he didn't get on that flight home. And then we thought, oh, well, okay, so he could be another couple of weeks, could be a bit longer, because he could have got delayed. I mean, he was walking thousands of miles or on the river for thousands of miles. So, give him a few weeks here and there. And then when it was like a slow initiation that into our grief. But anyway, yeah, it's like going through this this rite of passage, and it feels very much like that's what's happening now for me and my family. So yeah, I just have to allow that release, and I have to allow. So I did lots of work on root chakra stuff this week, and I think I got a healing card last week from Isis, and it feels very much like that we've walked into that dark place, into that initiation place, that portal. So on that side, my physical body and my energy, I can feel the change in what's going around. I've also had some great reminders this week. I'm going to keep doing this in order. I don't know if you know anything about human design, which is it uses there's elements of astronomy and all sorts of things in it. If you don't know about human design, just look up human design and it's all there. And you can basically do your chart, and it's based on where you were born and your date of birth and time of birth, and it tells you essentially your sort of blueprint for living. So how you interact with the world, and also like what's your purpose, what are you here to do. And I was reminded of it this week. I did quite a lot of work on mine a few years ago, even last year actually. And basically I'm here to step out of line. I'm basically here to represent the other way of doing things. I'm here, and my goal is to bring about a variance from the norm. So like what's normal, my goal is to change that. And that result comes from not necessarily the actions that I do, but people's perception of my actions. So these films are great because you're watching me and Chris bring about change, but your perception is important of what we're doing. And the other goal is like tweaking things that are mired and need to be changed for the better. So we're talking about stuck spirits, we're talking about views on death, we're talking about afterlife, all these things that are generally like almost taboo subjects. And we're bringing the love in where there's fear. I'm wearing black again today. I shouldn't be wearing black today. I feel I shouldn't have put a black top on. I was actually going to change it and I didn't, but it feels like it's lighter. It's lighter than black today. We're going beyond black today. We're starting, maybe we're in black, but we're going to the light at the moment. That's how it feels like. And yeah, I am very aware of reminding again of what I'm here to do and the purpose of all of this, these films, the purpose of bringing Christians' bones and belongings home, because that shouldn't be possible. Um, what we do in Raise, I've got some fantastic feedback actually this week from what we do in Raise and how it's helping people. So yeah, it just all these reminders that this is the goal and this is the focus, and just whatever's happening on the outside, don't worry, because you're going to be safe, and you're safe within, and your family are safe. I'm getting that again through for me. And then on Monday, I had probably the worst night's sleep I've had for a long time. I woke up and my hands and my feet were burning hot. Now that to me means that I'm having a power up. Just a second, I've just noticed something on the floor. Oh, look at that. I've just noticed a card that fell out of the pack and it's lying on the floor. So I don't know if anyone here needs to see that. It's the Star Mother. How can you mother yourself? Like, how can you look after yourself? I think that's a card for me, to do with this work. So I guess if you are also feeling like you're going through an initiation, and coming up to Spring Equinox, I imagine there'll be plenty of that going on, because we are coming into a time of balance, but before the balance there is this time of up and down. And so if you're in that position now, like, mother yourself, look after yourself, ask for support like I've been doing, and it will come. It will come. That support will come. It's so important to look after yourself when you're feeling unbalanced. Like, it's down to you. It's not external stuff that's going to help you balance. It's going to be down to you. So, like, lots of taking care of yourself, meditation, walks in nature. Like, the responsibility is yours. Okay. Sorry, that sounded quite harsh, didn't it? But it is. Like, it's always your responsibility. There's no knight in shining armor that's going to come and save you. They will do, but it will be you that's drawn them to you. Okay, sorry, where did that go? Anyway, so I woke up in the middle of the night with my hands and feet on fire, and that's a sign that something big is happening. And then I had a visitation from 3 goddesses, from Isis, who is the goddess that I've been working with for many years, who is, like, I see as the finder of lost things. If you know anything about Isis and her, it was her brother originally, Osiris. He got killed and chopped up into pieces by the jealous brother, and Isis went all over the country, or her kingdom, trying to find his pieces and bringing him all back together. So she is like the original finder of lost things, and I have been named the finder of lost things as well. So Isis appeared, and my heart chakra, like, exploded so strongly, and she showed me like a wheel that's being turned backwards. So it's like unwinding the past. That's what the words I got, unwinding the past. And for me, that is like, if that was be like a tarot card or something, it would be like the Empress, where you're really things are really beginning to manifest. She's showing me that yeah, it's really happening. The actions are happening for this big manifestation. Sekhmet was also there afterwards, who is the lion-headed goddess who I've been working with. She's like a warrior. She was there to support me in the warrior spirit, like the bold heart. She also showed me an egg, just a big egg. I don't think it was a chicken egg, but an ostrich egg or something. It was like a big egg. And she also showed me a person. It was a man, quite a young man, driving in a really nice car, obviously an expensive car. And whether that egg investment with this man, I don't know. But yeah, and it was like, trust your path. She was showing me, just keep going. You're all supported. And the investment, there's money. We in Raise, we need a lot. We don't charge for anything in Raise. So all the rescuing that we do, all the support we give, we don't charge for it. So we need funding for this to continue and for it to grow into this big beacon organization, which is the vision, which is where we see going. So yeah, that she was just showing me, just keep going, that bold-hearted, just keep going, and eventually the investment egg will help, will be there. And then also I had Oshun, who is the goddess of in West Africa, of rivers, of love, of the mother figure. And she, oh my goodness, she came in with the grandmothers. Now the grandmothers, to me, Christian was looked after by a grandmother spirit while he was in Africa, and she was the one who came and knocked on my door and then brought me in, and introduced me to Chris. She was like the bridge between Chris and I initially, and she actually handed over Christian's care to me. That was why she was calling me in. Anyway, the grandmothers came in, and actually when Chris showed me that when he was in Africa, it was a grandmother figure who looked after him when he was ill, when he'd been attacked. So the grandmothers were all around Chris and myself. They still are, because they came in with Oshun, and oh my god, they showed me the ground shaking in Africa. Like, they just showed me the ground shaking, which is like obviously the release of bones and belongings and things being unearthed. So that felt so real. I mean, it was real to me. And it was like that was the initiation. So I'd done the releasing of the petals, and that was with Rebecca Campbell, who was my first mentor. She's a Hay House author. Yeah, so we had the releasing, because obviously before anything new comes in, you have to release the old. There has to be a vacuum. And yeah, these goddesses came crashing in, and it was at 2 minutes. No, it was at 2:22 a.m. because I looked at my clock, and I thought, when I saw that time, I thought, oh my god, what's happening? Well, after I'd woken up with the hands and the feet burning, and then the three goddesses came in. So I'm hugely grateful for them supporting our this mission, because I know the return of Christian's bones and belongings is something which, after 20 years, is something that is going to be a miraculous thing. It's going to look miraculous, but I can tell you there's been some hard work to get to this stage, years of hard work. And I'm just so grateful that they've obviously been there all along, supporting me and Chris, obviously, to be able to do this. And we just pass on this, and you get, like the human design is, you take what you need from these words, our experiences. So of course, the knowledge of that happening and the changes that are happening now, they have started this week. The changes are happening. I could tell you lots of things that are happening, and I might tell you a few, but they're all personal to our family and what have you. But there might be a few things that I can tell you. There's a fear of actual. I had a twinge of fear of actually stepping out and doing this again. I keep repeatedly having that, but as you'll see further on in the week, so many things are pointing me into this is the right decision, this is the right way to go, and I'm being rewarded in other ways, not financially yet, but in terms of other things that are happening. So Okay. Sorry, how do I begin this one? We've had, so yes, there's a few things I can tell you about. So when things start to change, they start to change very close to home. And for me, this initiation is about things coming apart. So when I said about living in a very close-knit village, like everything's calm, da, 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 the shaking the ground has started to happen here. And we've had, as a dogs, children, us, we've all been having some run-ins with other people, with situations, with things not going smoothly, and it's literally causing little tremors all the way through our lives. And it feels like there's uprooting going on, which it's like literally in the last, I mean, things have been brewing, and in fact some of the things that have come up have been brewing for many years, and it's just now they've all come at a head. So yeah, there's some coming apart going on, and it's like healing old wounds that are coming up, and in many ways they're things that like are past their sell-by date. they're things that we should just be leaving behind. They are things that we sorry, something's coming here. I know it's always uncomfortable before change, and fighting to keep things together when they shouldn't be, you know, when there's no future in them, when they're things that you are ready to leave in the past. I'm talking like if maybe not necessarily associated with things that are happening around us at the moment, but like relationships that are past their sell-by date. You know, you have changed, and it's okay to move on, to have different friendship groups. It's okay to actually not be happy to be around certain people or certain dogs. You know, that's okay, and it's necessary. Change is necessary. That all sounds a bit cryptic, but maybe you can understand from your life as well, things that are coming up. Maybe they don't need to be healed, maybe they can just be cut free. You know, maybe you don't need to sit with these things any longer. Yeah, so personally there feels like a lot of things that are going on around us. Also, this week on Wednesday, we had our usual Raise Rebirthers meeting. Now, sorry, I'm just gonna have a coffee. Our Raise Rebirthers is like our inner team in Raise. I think I talked about it last week. We had, you know, Raise is a community free to join, and but as you get closer and more contact with myself particularly, and there's a very tight group of a core team, and we work together, and we are working on the expansion of Raise to become this beacon organization. And we had a rescue circle on Wednesday, and it was interesting because it didn't go as planned. We had somebody who's in America who they had severe storms that day, and because we do it in the evening, but it was day for her, afternoon, and they had power lines, that a tree came down on power lines as she was with us, and she just disappeared. All the electricity lines went down. Yeah, there was all sorts of disruption through the circle, pardon me, but it was very controlled. But it's just what was going. It was almost like I'm being shown now that I'm understanding. The inner circle was very strong, and we were doing our normal work, and we had, I mean, I forgot to ask actually how many. So we have we start off, we ask spirits who just want to go to the light. They go en masse, so we don't know how many there are, but I literally had to go, like, sit back in my chair because there was such a rush through this week. And then we provide space at the end if any. So we do that as a collective, that big column of light. It's like almost like a suction channel that goes up. And then individually in the circle, we ask at the end if there's any spirits who would like to come and talk to us, who would like to share their story, who would like to something else, who would like to share their story, and they come and talk to us individually, and then they release into the light. Now, while all the chaos was going on around outside, this process just carried on as normal. Okay, and this is the state that we have to be in. You know, we have to be strong on the inside. We have to be you know, like trees in the wind. We have that strong trunk. We can move, but we're flexible. Okay, so whatever's going on around outside, we're still strong in our trunk, in our core. And that's what it felt like, because we do these rescue circles in a lighthouse. That's the visual that we have, and that lighthouse will withstand anything that's going on around outside. So yeah, again, if you're feeling like that and you're also going through some kind of initiation, like, mother yourself. And that, just try and remain strong in yourself, whatever's going on around outside. And if you have to release stuff that's that doesn't need healing, it's just, you just need to cut it away, do that. So yeah, we had had the circle, but we had two interesting people come through, which I'd like to share. So when we have spirits come through, we have a kind of agreement with them, and we speak this out loud before we start, that if they want to come through and they want to tell us their stories, we are allowed, myself and my inner team and any Rays who is part of the circle, the rescue circles, we can, with their permission, use their stories in things like this, in YouTube films, in blogs, within Rays, to share their story. So they can tell us whatever they want, knowing that their stories will be passed on. So they tell them to educate. Okay, so there's two that I would like to tell you about, because they are stories that are universal, and I can actually see myself in one of the stories. The guy actually who came to talk to me afterwards, I was like, oh my goodness, reading between the lines, that was like with me and Christian. I kept myself in the dark. Anyway, I'll tell you briefly about his story. So this is Edward. And I'll just précis it because I wrote with him, so it's like dictation. I heard him speaking and I wrote it down. So he was with his colleagues and friends in obviously a war situation. There were bullets, and he said he was born in 1936. I thought he said 1936, but actually reading it, it could be 1836, but I think it was, I'm pretty sure it was. So he was, he retreated, he ran away from the bullets coming. And he said there was nothing I could do to stop myself. Perhaps he was a coward, but I don't really want to share the exact words he said. He's like, no, don't say that. But he something in him made him run away. And he felt, and he just couldn't stop himself. It was something, just a fear reaction, and he was absolutely gutted that he'd done that. that he'd gone away from his team. And he was he says, I'm so sorry to my colleagues and friends. There's nothing I wanted more than to be with them in the end, but it was like something in him made him run. And this to me is like when Chris went missing, when we had that panic and like the bullets were coming at us, it was like, oh my God, this is really happening. I felt I fled and I froze. I could not do anything. So while Chris's friends, mum and dad, everybody was on high action, trying to sort the situation out, I just literally froze. And I was living in a different part of the country. So I was in southwest England. They were on the other side of the country, and it was quite easy to just get on in my little world and try and focus on work, try and focus on keeping, like, I just went inwards, totally inwards. I didn't know what to do with this news that Chris wasn't coming home, like he was lost, there was trouble. I couldn't cope with it. Anyway, so this guy Edward, very similar to me, he said to me, now, if I may, is the time when I want to go into the light to join them. It's time. I've done my penance, he says. I've been waiting alone and in the dark for so long. Now I can return. I want to return to them, to my colleagues and friends. And he thanked me. And then I kind of helped him up. So it was almost like he'd done his penance by staying earthbound. It was like a punishment for him. And in a way I can see that. I'm like, oh, okay, I spent at least 12 years in that sort of punishment state, I guess. Not really knowing what to do with what I felt I'd done by not helping initially. But obviously I wasn't meant to be happening then, otherwise none of this later would have happened. So yeah, so I don't know if there's maybe these stories are ringing something with you, I don't know. And then the other one, who came through to my friend and colleague, he was a guy who was born in 1876 and he was murdered in 1897. And I know these dates are accurate because this lady uses a pendulum, whereas I don't. So they're very accurate with dates and things. Anyway, he told her that he was shot while sitting alone, and he regarded himself to be a loner and a bad person. And he didn't go into the light because he was too afraid of the light. And we hear this quite a lot. It's like, the light is where the good things go, where the good people go. The light is not for me. And he said he'd been hiding from the monsters all that time, being earthbound. And when he was asked, have you seen any monsters? I mean, what are these monsters? And he says, no, I haven't seen any, but they're obviously, he felt, so when you're earthbound, in that state, and I know because Chris was the same, like it's this reality, but it's not reality. And the monsters would be like the fear is still your I'm hearing the word enemy when you're earthbound. Fear, it still exists, and it can still bring the monsters, it can still bring the aloneness, it can still bring the abandonment. That doesn't change when you go into earthbound spiritness. And actually somebody said to me this morning, I woke up because we have quite a lot of people in America who are in rays, and he said to me he'd been reading a blog that I'd written about different types of spirit, like why do they get stuck. And he said, I thought it was only evil people that got stuck, like Jeff, the loner, the bad person. He thought they were only the bad people that got earthbound and stuck. And he said he read the message and read my blog, and he was like, oh my God, everybody needs to know this. Everybody needs to know this. It's not just it's anybody can get earthbound if they don't go to the light. And so yeah, so when my friend asked Jeff, do you want to go to the light now? He said, yes, please. But he said, I want to tell everybody, please tell others that love is most important. So that's what Jeff said. Please tell others that love is most important. Okay, so anything that's fit, and I guess this initiation, going through these initiations, we have to believe in love. We have to be love. We have to keep opening our hearts. We have to, and this is what Isis was showing me with the open heart chakra. We have to do that. We can't fit. The more you fear it, the more you close it off, the more you restrict change, and try and keep everything together and stop things coming apart, like I did with Chris going missing. It was like, this can't be true. This can't be true. This, if I just ignore this, it's all just going to come together and he's just going to come home. That doesn't work. Like, this is an initiation that we all had to go through when Chris went missing, and it had to happen. Like, these things have to happen. Change has to happen. You don't know a lot of the time when you're going through an initiation what it's for, but just know that you are going through it for your soul to grow, for you to find expansion. Okay, there's a reason, and whatever you go through, you will be gaining strength if you mother yourself and allow the change and just allow the process and ask for support when you need it. So yeah, in fact, the gentleman who mentioned about thinking that all earthbound spirits were kind of like evil and that's why they were stuck there, he actually has given me some feedback, and he's allowed me to share it, because I always ask, you know, people. I'm very respectful, spirits and human, very respectful of using other people's words. And he has, I think it was December last, so only a few months ago, 4 months ago, lost, I don't say lost, his partner of over 40 years died. And he came into Raise just last week, really distraught, but had decided that like very distraught. And I said to him, look, we have an emergency grief kit, would you like to go through it, which is 3 films that I channeled in 2019, so they're a few years old. And he said, yeah, I would really love to do those, please. And he also did the meditation that I talked about last week, which was the clearing the view, and the 4 lions coming into support. And he also did a new, so when he came in, that's it, I said, do you want these films? And he said, yes, please. So basically what I did, I created us another area in Raise, which is actually called Start Here. And when you're new into Raise, if you start there start there in the Start Here, I recorded a new welcome film and a new ritual and initiation actually moving into Raise. And then I've put in the emergency grief kit. And this gentleman, he went through all the process. He jumped straight in. And if he hadn't asked me and hadn't come in, I probably wouldn't have done that Start Here whole section. But it's literally, he jumped in, and he's done all the films, he's done the whole lot, he's done the meditations, and he says, I'm just going to show you his feedback, and because I just think it just shows I've putting those resources in and sharing what I've got with people. This is the way forward. Just keep opening the heart and keep allowing the transformation. And this guy, he literally jumped on that life raft and he has used it. And he says, thank you for the emergency grief kit. Hannah's genuine care and desire to help can be felt in her words. It is truly a blessing to have come across Raise. I know the road ahead will not be easy for me, but Hannah convinced me that it is possible to work through my indescribable grief and maybe provide assistance to other people in the future. Okay, and he's literally just come into Raise and used the initial resources. He is now going to go, I asked him this morning if he'd like to do the grief walk, which is the sequel. It's 4 channeled films, which is the sequel to the emergency grief kit, and he wants to. So He's on the way. His wife, without a doubt, brought him to raise, without a doubt. And apparently they have a very strong connection with cats, like big cats. It was something that they shared a love and passion for, and particularly black panthers, he says, but cats, lions, whatever, the big cats. So yeah, so I know between the mix of the rescue circles, all those spirits that we help, I know we don't get financial reward from them, or an exchange, but the abundance comes in other ways, and they will be making connections for us on the other side. I know that. I have every faith, and there are hundreds that went through. There must have been hundreds that went through on Wednesday, and every time we do them. So we've got a big bank of what do you call it? Energy exchange happening around. I think that's all I need to say. So yeah, when you just keep giving, keep opening when you're going through these initiations, like, what can I keep giving? Don't close off. And it's almost think about, like, do things for others as well. Do things for others as well as yourself when you're going through that time, because we all need that collaboration and that support, and it pays forward for sure. So and the other thing I realized this week is that I'm becoming more and more lionish with my hair. I had it cut. So we did the rescue circle on Wednesday night, and then Thursday morning, beautifully, I'd booked in for a cut, or been booked in for a cut and color in my hair. And because I'm going grey, we're blending in everything, all the colors, so it doesn't look so obvious. And I sat in the chair and I went, I am literally, but you are turning me into a lion. I mean, look, it's not as curly as it usually is, because I had it, it's just been washed, it's nicely done. But I can definitely see in Cozy and myself, we're basically getting the same hairstyle. It just made me laugh. So in amongst all the doom and gloom, yeah, remember Jeff's word, love is most important. Okay, and on that note, I shall love you and leave you for this week. And oh, hang on, no, we've got Isis yet. Got another card. So I'm wondering whether I think this healing card here was actually healing initiation kind of thing. So offering healing for others, and healing that's happening around the uprooting and the change that's about to happen. So I'm going to put that card back. Thank you, Isis, because that was greatly. And I haven't had my level 3 attunement to Sekhmet energy, which I thought I might have done this week, but it feels like that would have just been too much on top of all the dramas that have been happening this week. So I don't know how long this will last for. Let's just see what Isis. So something I need to know for next week. Isis, please. Supporting the bones and belongings return and our working rays. Oh, it's this one. Ooh, okay. Truths unveiled, the revelation of Isis. Okay, I'm not sure if we've had that card. I'm not sure if we've had that card on these films already. I think we have. And I've got a feeling it was where Christian's bones and belongings were, which I did with the pendulum. I identified 2 areas. I'll have to look back, but I think so. Truths unveiled, which kind of makes sense. Like before the revelations, before the truths, when you get your freedom, because revelations are basically freedom. Like they're things that have been waiting to come up, and they're unearthed. And that's if you're emotional, and you don't really know why, and you're like, oh, I feel a bit uncomfortable, I feel a bit lost, something that feels out of balance. In fact, one of our group, she got a call. This reminds me, we do a live stream every week. So I do a live stream every week in the group, just in the main raise area. And one of the girls had got a calling just to go and take her journal and sit in a church, in her local church. Not something she does but she listened to the calling and went and did it. And while she was journaling in the church, which is a safe, solid place for, I used to go to the church, used to get called to go to our local church quite a lot. I haven't for ages. But when I was in sort of turmoil many years ago, or like, yeah, quite a few years ago, I would get called and I would go in there and I'd have some sort of revelation which would release something. And that's exactly what happened with one of the Raise members. She went in, she was doodling and drawing and journaling and writing, and she got this revelation, and it was like, she didn't know, it wasn't even in her consciousness, she didn't know where it came from, but once she'd seen it and realized it had been written or drawn, it was like a release. So revelations, truth are a release. Okay, the truth sets you free. It set Chris free. It set me free. Like knowing that he was dead and we weren't just talking to each other telepathically. Like a truth set us free. We were like, oh, thank God. It's taken. When was it? It was 1st of May 2018. So it took 15 years for that truth to be revealed. So maybe the 20th year. So we're coming up to the 20th year of the last phone call we had with Chris, Mum and Dad had with Chris, is going to be this week. So I'll just tell you about that. So yeah, 20 years ago, 23rd of March, 2003, Chris was just outside a town called Kita in Mali, and he stumbled across a shack with a table in it, and on the table was a telephone, and he was like, this can't be happening, what's this? And he picked up and it was working. He's like, that's a miracle. So he used the opportunity. It was just before Mum and Dad's birthdays, because they had them close together, and he phoned them up to wish them happy birthday, and that was the last time. It was a quick call, but that was the last time that we had physical connection with Christian, on the 23rd of March. And we are coming up to the 20th anniversary of that on the 23rd this year. Yeah, and I'm just about to have a call actually with one of our team, and we're going to work out something around that anniversary, like yeah, something. We're going to offer something, basically launch something. So that might be of interest to some of you that are watching. I hope so. But yeah, truth revealed. Let's see. Always the discomfort before the release. So, and yes, we have Equinox coming as well in a couple of days. So that will be on the 20th, 21st of March. So all around this area, this time, there should be some true. Oh gosh, yeah. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it, because I don't, it is uncomfortable. We just have to keep focusing on others, mother ourselves, and keep going. Okay, loads of love, and I'll see you next week. Okay, bye-bye.